We're holding right now, right after the Yom Tov of Shavuos, and we're holding within the Arboim Yom, which was right after Kabbalah Torah and Shavuos. There was Arboim Yom that Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, being Mekabel the Torah. And in those 40 days, the Pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, Ad Sha'amelech b'msibo, we were like sitting with the king at the table in a party with the king. The greatest pleasures in the world, the greatest closeness to the king, the best feeling that a human being could ever have. These 40 days of right after Matan Torah, until came Shivasar B'Tammuz, or Tezayin Tammuz, and they made the Egel. Next day Moshe Rabbeinu came down and broke the Luchos, and then that Matzav of Ad Sha'amelech b'msibo finished, and it became Choshech v'Yevuvia and the Taruvus Tovera, Yevuvia of Tovera, and Ad the Sof till the Sof of the Tikkun HaShalom. We have to work on breaking through the Choshech and the Yevuvia and the Balbulim. But right now we're still holding in the Arboim Yom of Ad Sha'amelech b'msibo. We have to remember all the time the Gemara in Brochus, the third parak. And the Gemara says that you have a Balkari needs Tevila. And the reason that he needs Tevila is because you have to learn Torah Kinesinosa. Just like the Nesinosa was Be'ima B'yira B'reses U'Bezeh, with fear, with shaking from the presence of Hashem, of Ponim Be'ponim Dibra Hashem Imochem, and being Mekabel the Torah. The same thing L'Dorah is, whenever we learn Torah, we have to learn it in the same matzav of Kinesinosa, Be'ima B'yira, and Al-Balkari, he's not in a matzav of Be'ima B'yira. Meanwhile, you see for me what a mikveh can do to a person. We're talking about a state of mind. We're not talking about the tumas carry. We're talking about the state of mind that he's in of kalus rosh. He'll go to the mikveh. The tumah will go off. What do we understand what tumah means, what tara means? But the matzav nafshi, the matzav that he's in, the psychological state that the person is in of lightheartedness, that will change from going to the mikveh. He'll go in, he'll come out a new person, and now he can learn Torah B'Mivya. You see from here what a mikveh is. And that shows that with that we understand the meaning of certain tzaddikim that they do if they try to go to the mikveh before every mitzvah they do, before lighting Chanukah, before blowing shofar, before saying shir to Talmidim. I know Reb Tzimmer Zilberberg, he goes to the mikveh before giving his talk on Friday. Special tefillah he makes kedei to be be'ima b'yira, kedei to be in the right frame of mind to give the talk that it should be mashpia on the people. You see from here that the matzav of Matan Torah, the matzav of Kinesinosa, that stays at Sof Kol HaDoros. Whenever we learn Torah, we're learning it. We're being Mekabel Torah on Ma'amad Har Sinai. We're standing there, and we're hearing the kolos ubrokim, the kol shofar chazak meod, and we're hearing it all. We're there in that matzav. And whenever you learn Torah, we have to try to remember that. We're in the middle of a sugya, in the middle of a inyan. We should, a few seconds, we should just let the thought mine, kinesi nosa, kolos brokim, onon koved, kol shofar chazak mode. The Maharal says in the Tiferes Yisrael, kolos brokim of Matan Torah means that Matan Torah is something that's muhrach. It can't be any other way. This is it. This is not just additional laws, additional rituals that we do. This is something, a matter of life and death. Without Torah, it's death, and with Torah, it's life. And that's how we have to learn. And somebody that learns with Maimed HaSinai Dik, we call it in Yiddish. Somebody that learns like that, he'll be zocher to a much deeper understanding, and he'll be zocher to much more clear Chidushei Torah. But we have to remember another thing when we talk about Maimed HaSinai Dik. We have to remember the importance, like I just said from the Mara. It's mukhrach. Torah is a mukhrach. It has to be that way. But that doesn't just mean the halachas, the dinim, the isurim, the terim, the mitzvahs. Every word of Torah is mukhrach. Every pasuk in Chumash, every half a pasuk, it's a mukhrach. Every, just like the Aseres HaDibros were given, because who broke him to tell us that it has to be this way. So that teaches us that the whole Torah is like that it has to be that way. I once was visiting America, and I was in Lakewood, and I was there in the time of I think it was like towards the end of Elul, and there was such a thing over there as a shuk of chavrusas. I forgot what they called it. They had a name to it, a market of chavrusas. Everybody was talking that they'll learn with this one, they'll learn with that one, who's going to learn with who. And even there were some people, and that I heard that they were asking about the other person that they're talking for a chavrusa to him. They were asking what he's like and how he is. It sounded like shidduchim, you know. And when they were talking about it, they were also talking about what Gemara they're going to learn, and what Mishnah they're going to start from. And are they going to start from the beginning of the Masechta, or are they going to start from the middle of the Masechta? This sugya, that sugya. Which, on one hand, I do understand it, because we want to learn a certain sugya. We know that we're not going to finish the Masechta, so let's choose what sugya we want to learn, or what few daf we want to learn. But we have to know, on the other hand, that there's such a thing as the value of Torah. Every line, everything you learn is important. Even things, it says in the end of Parshas Hazinu, Ki lo davar reiku mikam. You should know that Torah is so important, and it's not an empty thing. And Rashi brings that you could think to yourself, what's it important to know? Vachos Lotan Timna. Timna was the sister of Lotan, so who cares? And on that he says, no, it's not a dover reik. It comes to teach us how the chashivas of Klal Yisrael is. Look up the Rashi in the end of Parshas Hazinu. I wanted to bring an example of a Gemara that I just learned tonight with my son-in-law, and I thought, and I wanted to just share with the Olam, with the Choshev Olam that listens to our talks, which I don't know how many people they are. At least I know there's one person in Baltimore that's listening, and it's kedai for that. I don't know, Odom Yokar B'Yosef. Yaakov Lipnitsky, his name is. He appreciates Torah, he loves Torah, and he's interested in his shows about some, what are the words that I say. It's not in Meischus, in the Schus of Maizedi that was from Baltimore. He was also a strong Ohev Torah. So I wanted to bring this Gemara that I learned with my son-in-law Baruch tonight. In Shabbos, Daf Chafam and Beis, we're holding by Mem Adlikin. We just started tonight by Mem Adlikin, the second part. And the Gemara seems to be one of these Gemaras that you just gloss over and you read them over, and you don't really feel like we don't want to say it, admit openly, but somebody would ask us if you would skip this piece of Gemara, would you think you would be missing something? Rahmana litzlan, you're not allowed to say. So we're learning this Gemara that the Mishnah says that you're not allowed to be madlik, to use for a wick, a psila, of a leches, of a chosin, of a chal. We say it every Friday night. But memadlikin. And the Gemara talks about that one of the things that you're not allowed to use is kaloch, a certain material that you can make wicks out of it, and it's called kaloch. Certain grass, a certain something that grows. The Gemara says what? The Gemara wants to know what it is. And Gemara brings Omar Shmuel. Shaltinu, I asked, Lekol Nechuseyam, all the travelers of the sea, the sailors of the boats, people who traveled. V'hamri, and they said to me, Kulcha Shmei. This kalach, it's called Kulcha. What did he gain from hearing that it's called Kulcha? Maybe that he didn't know what it is. It means, I said to my son-in-law, you could just read this Gemara and just read it through. Like I'm sure that there are many Daf Hayomi people, when they get to this kind of Gemara, they use it as an opportunity to catch up. They're always busy catching up, which is a big problem with Daf Hayomi. The Daf Hayomi causes people to have to catch up. And I don't know if that was a Meir Shapiro's Kavonim or not. It doesn't really matter what his Kavonim was. Still, Daf Hayomi is still a good thing because it creates a certain achdus by Yidden based on Torah. But the problem of always having to catch up is definitely a problem. So when you learn a Gemara like this, you use it as the chance to catch up. Let's just race through it. But let's stop a minute and let's imagine. No, we're not deep people. We're not saying chidushim. We're not saying brilliant things. But let's remember what Rab Nachman Breslover said in the Sipurei Maises, that he said the shliach of the king said by the person that was in charge of the castle said, over here everything is important. There was once somebody that in a certain stage of his life, he used to say, well, that's bullshit, everybody knows that, but it's simple. That was his criticism. But Rab Nachman Breslover said, not like that. Everything is important to you. There's no lightness. There's no just skimming over it, glossing over it. Everything is important. Let's stop a minute and imagine. Shmuel, the holy Tana Shmuel, that the Gemara says in Bava Metzia, that it said that they saw in the Sifra the Odom Kadmor, in the book of Odom Arishan, where it talked about what the generations later, what they're going to be. And it said in the Sifra the Odom Kadmor, Shmuel Yarchino, Shmuel the astronomer, he's going to be a Talmud Chacham, Adam Gadol is going to be, but a Rebbe, he's not going to get the title Rebbe because he's not going to get smicha, it's not going to work out. That's the holy Shmuel.
Rabbi Caplan, we're going to take a break now. Thank you.